The issue of masturbation, Khalid is asking about a person who is far away from his family and he's a bit frustrated and sometimes he's under pressure. So is it permissible for him to use what is known as a secret habit or masturbation to relieve himself a little bit or relieve himself, whatever? The answer is it's an issue of dispute. But the majority of scholars say that it is not permissible. Because the Prophet ﷺ, when he was addressing the youth, he said, يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج. Whoever is capable financially and physically to get married, he should do so. And whoever is not able to do so, that is to get married, then he should fast. And he did not direct them to masturbating, which means that the Prophet would not direct us except to the best, and whatever else is not, then it is not a part of the Sunnah, and it might even be more than that. And this is why Allah mentioned this in Surah Al-Mu'minun and Surah Al-Ma'arij, where He says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ إِلَّا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون. And those who preserve and keep their chastity and private parts except from their wives and their concubines. And whoever seeks anything else, meaning masturbation, then he is a transgressor. So scholars say that doing so, that is masturbation, is considered to be part of the transgression that a person should avoid. Now, in very minimal cases, very rare cases, it might be permissible if the doctors, for example, say that it's a must. So if a person is in a medical condition and he has to undergo tests, lab tests for one reason or the other, or the doctor says that you have to do this procedure now because it has reached a level that would harm you, in this case it's permissible. But to open it and say that it's completely permissible as long as you are far away from your wife, this would be an act of transgression, despite the fact that it is physically harmful and it has bad consequences on the relationship between the spouses. Ismail from the US.
Yeah, Sheikh, one question. Recently, a prominent Muslim speaker has said the masturbation is not haram or sinful, rather is makruh and discouraged. Can you please elaborate that a little bit?
Okay. Wa jazakum. Ismail from the US, he says that he heard a da'i saying that masturbating is makruh, which means not recommended. You know that we have 5 rulings: mandatory, then recommended, then permissible, then makruh, then haram. So makruh is a degree above haram, above prohibition. But if you do it, you're not sinful. If you leave it, then you are rewarded. So he says that I heard a da'i saying so. So what's the ruling on masturbation? Akhi, masturbation is prohibited. And why do we say it's prohibited? Because our scholars, like Sheikh bin Baz, like Sheikh bin Uthaymeen, and many other contemporary scholars, great scholars of Islam, say it is prohibited. Imam Shafi'i, before them, decades ago, centuries ago, also said that it is haram, because Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Mu'minun and in Surah Al-Ma'arij, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ إِلَّا عَلَى مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ إِلَّا عَلَى أَزْوَاجِهِمْ أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ غَيْرُ مَلُومِينَ فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. So Allah says that those who protect their private parts from any illicit, prohibited sexual intercourse, unless it's with their wives and what their right hand possesses. And whoever chooses to fulfill his desire in other means, then they are the transgressors. And this brings us to Shamshad's from India's question, so we hit two birds with one stone. What kind of transgression is this? Whenever you do something that Allah has prohibited, this is a form of transgression against Allah. So this ayah, Imam Shafi'i says, is a clear cut that satisfying your sexual desires other than what Allah has permitted you to do is a form of transgression. In another hadith, and the Prophet ﷺ was addressing the youth, and he said to them, "O youth, whoever is financially capable and physically capable of getting married, then he should get married, because this helps him to lower his gaze and protect his chastity." So this is the natural channel. Okay, Prophet of Allah, I can't afford to get married. What should I do? I'm still suffering. I cannot lower my gaze and I cannot preserve my chastity, meaning that I can't get married. What to do? Did the Prophet ﷺ say, go and masturbate? Because this is degree number 2, level 2? Never. He told them, whoever is unable to afford it, then he should fast. This would be to him a blockage of his sexual desire. So now you compare apple to apple. The scholars said it's haram. Imam Shafi'i said it's haram. The Prophet directed us ﷺ to fast, and never ever he agreed or permitted the companions to masturbate. So if you do the math, you certainly know and understand that this is prohibited, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows better.
Sufyana from Algeria, she says, am I allowed to masturbate in case I'm sexually excited? Masturbation is a sin. An individual cannot sexually entertain himself unless it's with his wife or with what his right hand possesses, and which is not available at the present time. So a person can only entertain himself sexually with his wife. She can do whatever she wants with him, and he can do whatever he wants with her, providing that the Islamic boundaries are followed, which is not the proper place to discuss them now. Masturbation, Allah Azza wa Jal described it as a form of transgression, because He told us that the believers preserve their private parts except from their wives and what their right hand possesses, and whoever seeks his pleasure other than these two, then he would be committing a form of transgression. Therefore, when you come to such a question, if a person is sexually excited, is it permissible for him to masturbate? The answer is no. Because during the day and the night, with present day's media, internet, chatting, phone calls, SMSs, magazines, newspapers, billboards, etc., people are constantly excited sexually because they're not lowering their gaze. They're not following the Quran and the Sunnah. And that is why they're always hyper. So does this mean that this sin becomes permissible? The answer is no. It is forbidden to commit such an evil when a person is excited. If he is excited, then he should do what Allah or the Prophet ﷺ commanded him to do, and that is to get married. So if you have a wife or if you have a husband, then go and satisfy yourself with your spouse. If you don't, and you're still excited, then you have to fast, because this shortens your temper and makes this urge of having a sexual desire far lesser in extent with the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal.